Hello, boys and girls, my name is Hatsasi and welcome back to Factorio Space Age, where last time we set up quite a bit of a larger factory with heavy quality involved, because we want to get high quality asteroid collectors, high quality gun turrets, and then also high quality crushers. We do have 10 here, 16 here, and 5 here. I think crushers we need at least 5 more. I also don't think 16 gun turrets will be sufficient, but looking at why we are producing so slow, it's because we are basically lacking the low density structures for the for the crushers and the collectors, and there we are lacking plastic. Plastic we only get by recycling the low density structures and hope that we roll the dice and get plastics in higher quality out. And because we also need quite a bit of iron, steel and copper, I went ahead and here where we're actually producing those things, I added a foundry that has quality modules in it and collect the good stuff and recycle everything else that we are not interested in. And then of course same here for iron plates, steel beams, here another steel beam, and that's how we got to this point. But today we want to focus on designing a spaceship that is capable to reach the outer limit of our solar system, then go beyond, and hopefully also make the way back so we can collect the materials that we need here for Promethium science pack. There we need the Promethium asteroid chunks to craft those. It's not really necessary to progress, but I think if you don't do, you cannot really claim to have conquered the game. So what we will do is we will add a space platform. We name it Voyager 1, like the famous spacecraft that left our solar system. Then we design the different aspects of the spaceship, and then once we are satisfied, we put everything together and hope for the best. So let's start with some considerations regarding power. If we are looking at our most advanced spacecraft, there we have a nuclear power plant on it, and if we look at power consumption, we can see there is about a peak at 23 megawatt. So we're not really using the full capability that we could get with a nuclear power plant. That's why I think we will go with a fusion reactor which can output up to 100 megawatt, and by what I see here, that should be sufficient. And if not, we should be able to add a second one in. So let's do that first, and we will do that in a similar fashion that we did with the power plant, where we basically insert the fuel directly from the hangar bay, and then have everything else working around here. So we can have this that way. Then we need something like this, and we need... Can we fit that in here? Because we need the processing here. Yeah, that fits nicely. There. And then we will need initial fueling. We do that from here, where we empty bottles of fluorketin, like so. And that should also directly come from here. And we probably won't need that many. And once we have filled up the system, we can then actually remove that part of our system. Now, with this first part built up, if not yet fueled, let's turn our attention here to the front side. I think we will go once again with a narrow, lengthy ship, because then we don't have that much impact that we have to cover at the front, and it's also better for our thrusts. At least that's how it works here. And let's start with, let's come out from the middle and have one of these, and then we will need some collectors. If we have them here, then we also want to have gun turrets. The high quality one. I think we will move that one over so we can actually fit in one additional turret, and we will have a tiny slither here that we have not covered by the collectors, but I would guess the chunks will either float to the left or to the right, not right down here to the middle, and if they do, they will not do any damage here. So then I guess we will just have another one of these here. And maybe there. That should probably be a bit more forward. Yep. Like so. Yep. And then we have to think about how to supply ammunition. Because the railgun turrets, we probably only want to have front facing and maybe in the front to the side, but not all the way down to the end, because they have quite a far reach, so they can shoot asteroids up to down here, and once we're moving, the main threat of colliding asteroids comes from the top, and if we have a bit of speed, we basically can avoid any asteroids coming in from the sides. So I think maybe we will have two more sets here on the side, but then we are good for the railgun turrets, which means we only need to supply ammunition for those towards the front. But that's probably not true for these ones. And this will not work out because we need to have a belt where we can then have the collection here. We probably want to have another collector here on the side. And for this ship, I go with red belts. And we will do it in the same direction as I always do it. There. And I could make it this way. And we would need underground here. We can have a second row of turrets here in the back. Right. Even one here. One more here to the side. We can have the then the supply line going through here. Forward, and then have the rockets here on this side. And with that, basically the radius of rockets are the same as we have here for the front-facing turrets. And of course, we then also want to set the targets where we say how have we set it here? Let's just copy that over to those. I don't have to worry about it. And same thing here for these, which means these would then only be the big ones. What we probably need to add here are two smaller ones. And there we already have it in. Right. And then if we do it like this, we can then probably have if we supply these like that, then that would be something like this. And I would imagine splitter here. That covers this one. And then we can go there. And there we supply those. Then we probably want to have another one here on this side. We also want to have a few turrets going down here. Then another collector down there. And then we can mirror the same thing on the other side. And I want to have this a bit more forward than in any of our other setups, because here the basically the core of our spaceship, that's pretty much towards the front, which is not really always a good idea, because if the front is destroyed, or when this is destroyed, the spaceship is destroyed. However, on the other hand, if the front is destroyed, we're basically losing our defense, and we are doomed anyway. So let me set this up, and then we can turn our attention towards moving the spaceship forward and producing all the materials that we need on here. The front-facing defense looks pretty decent, and I hope I have wired all the belts correctly, but we will see that when we hook everything up. So I think next step is propulsion, and there I think I'll just copy what we have here. That seems to work nice. I will add this here to the side. I will remove all the belts here. So we have a clear picture of what's going on, because I would imagine that we can get the belts. We don't need to get the belts all the way to the back. Let's also remove the accumulators. And then let's add pumps. We will have one here and one there. And then we will have our tanks there. And there. Now, what I want to achieve here with these pumps is that we only pump fuel to our engines if we are below a certain speed. And if we look at this spaceship, we are not moving too fast because we are lacking thruster fuel. But I think we can get up to maybe let's look at this one. Yeah, it has 2 engines less, but we get to speeds up to 200 kilometers per second, and I'm aiming for 100 kilometers per second. And once we basically go above, then we turn off the pumps, and thereby we should have less problems with the fuel production, because what we have seen there is that we are running out of fuel, and then basically the engines stops, and we are falling down below. And what then can really happen is, if you're between 2 celestial bodies and you don't have any thrust, you will be attracted towards the planet that is closer. So at least you have to manage to get over halfway there, and then you could drift the last part of the way. But I think with these distances, that's not something we want to aim for. So next, we have to think about the processing of the chunks. But I think we'll leave that for next time. Until then, goodbye.